and welcome to another virtual chat on Everywhere Experiences. I'm Abhishek Vanamali, Chief Marketing Officer of Zensar, and joining me today is Heath Madison, Vice President at Indigo Slate. Today, we're going to discuss the various aspects of data and how the emergence of data from virtual platforms can really transform the return on investment you're making on your virtual experiences. So, let me welcome Heath.
Thanks, Abhishek.
So, Heath, what are your opinions on how this virtual world is shaping out? And do you think that this is a temporary trend or will this continue?
I don't think it's a flash in the pan. I think this is something that was going to happen anyway, probably over about the next 6 to 8 years. But what the current pandemic has done is it's forced a paradigm shift earlier than would have happened normally. Rather than being that 6 to 8 year time frame, it has to happen now. The nice thing is there are actually a lot of benefits you get because the event's virtual. And a lot of ones that aren't the obvious benefits people think of. Everybody thinks of the reach, the 3x to 5x attendees because no one's having to travel and cover that expense. But there's other things that are kind of behind the scenes, like data. The amount of data you can now get from delivering that event virtually is immense and very valuable. And just to compare it, Abhishek, as the CMO, what kind of data do you expect to get from a traditional live event in person?
Not enough, right? That's my answer. Because in a physical event, you are limited by what the attendee or the participant provides you, right? And there's so many rules and regulations about what you can capture. I mean, I wish I had a little tracker device on each participant and I could find out where that person is going and what he's attending and what she's looking at so that I can, customize my event to his or her needs and even do the post-event follow-up, what's relevant. Unfortunately, a real event, a physical event, doesn't provide me with that kind of feedback, that kind of real-time feedback and information. And I, as CMO, sometimes how can I get that information? And not only as a CMO, I can imagine anybody who had any kind of one-to-many interaction, right, in a physical setting, won't they wish for more data that they can use during the event and after the event, which for follow-up and for generating more ROI? So, Heath, what's going to change with all this data once we are heading towards the virtual experiences? Do you think we're going to get more data now?
It's actually interesting you use the word tracker because obviously in a physical event, that's the dream of everybody. But we actually get that when we deliver these events digitally. That tracker, we consider it's a digital footprint. Wherever someone goes, whatever they do, they're leaving a record of their movement. And so with a physical event, you'd get information like they stepped into a session. Their badge was scanned on the way in. But you didn't know if they left 10 minutes into it. You didn't know what they did from there, how much attention they were paying. But by going digital, not only do we get the benefit of a broader reach, the larger audience we discussed, but now we're getting more data that we can use from those attendees. We know when they came, when they left, where they got bored. We can learn from that data. We can learn from that data on the fly. We know what sessions maybe, if we know that there's a drop-off at 10 minutes into every event or 20 minutes into an event, we know what's happened to that point. And so now we know maybe where we need to either improve it or just where their focus was. So there's a lot of intelligence we can gain from that. So if you look at that and that level of detail, if you had access to that kind of data, Abhishek, how would it help you? What would you do with it?
Well, a lot, right? I mean, this is the kind of data that is a dream for a CMO or anybody who wants to figure out how to interact better with their audience and how to actually get insight on what's on their mind. I think, from an account-based marketing perspective, if I was doing a virtual event and I knew my customers were on the meeting and they attended, sessions X, Y, and Z, I know exactly what to do in my follow-up message to them, right? How I can deploy further account-based marketing tools and interventions to make sure I carry forward the conversation. And all this information, if it's available to me in a digital format, I can correlate it with my CRM system, right? It can be great, great input to my sales team to have the right kind of conversations. I think it's going to really impact it all around. Have you seen this data being used already with this perspective?
I've actually seen a lot of use cases of this. I've actually seen it be used in quite a few different ways that are really, in my opinion, very interesting and kind of very valuable to the stuff we're doing. For instance, if you see you're losing your audience at the 15-minute mark, as we discussed before, so you're losing them at the 15-minute mark. Well, you now know that there's something that you need to do there to try to reel them back in, get them back engaged, keep them from leaving. Or at least have that level of data to know that maybe the next time something has to happen there. Or you may start finding out of an hour-long session or a 30-minute session, maybe there really is only 10 minutes that different people in the audience cared about. And so as they come into that session, you see when they leave. So now when you're doing your post-event follow-up, for instance, you're following up with a very targeted message. You know what they cared about. You know what the piece of that conversation they cared the most about was. And you know what conversation they left yours to go be a part of. And this is truly the same whether it's an internal event, a customer sales conversation, or a large-scale digital event. That level of conversation you're able to get. And that real-time feedback, that real-time information, you're able to take and adapt on the spot or as follow-up. So it's very pervasive, and having access to that data, the amount of things you can do with it is just vast. And it's all about how can we take that data and provide better engagement with the audience.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's not only about post-event follow-up, right? It's also about tweaking the event experience as it's going along. It's just real-time feedback. And I think for people who really care about the experience they're delivering in their virtual experiences, if they're keeping their ear open, they can really hear customer feedback as the event is going, and they can tweak their agenda real time, right? You can personalize the experience, right? They can get answers to the questions immediately. So I think it's much beyond just follow up. It's just it can enrich the event experience in general.
Agreed. Keeping in mind, it's about engagement. I can't emphasize that enough as we chat. It's about how we engage with that audience. It's about keeping them off their laptops, keeping them paying attention to you, and moving on every step along the way.
That's exactly right. And I think that's the combined power of Indigo Slate, which brings the creative brilliance and the virtual experience, right? And Zensar, where we can do the data analytics, right? We have been helping big customers do their account-based marketing by mining troves of customer data, right? And allowing them to really optimize their marketing spend and create very effective campaigns. This is just another step towards that. And I think together, Indigo Slate and Zensar can really create a very strong value proposition for anybody who wants to maximize value out of their virtual experience. So thank you for your time, Heath.
No, thanks, Abhishek. Absolutely my pleasure.
And everybody else out there listening to this virtual chat, stay tuned for more as we explore other aspects relating to everywhere experiences. Stay safe, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.